What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got a new Marvel Champions pack to talk about. And I haven't been able to say that for a while. It has been legitimately months since a new Marvel Champions expansion was revealed. But we have had a new Marvel Champions revealed. And oh my goodness, it looks fun. It's all based around Kang. Now, of course, we did see the silhouette, and most people guessed Kang. And then, of course, we did see that Kang actually leaked out from retailers. So most people weren't terribly surprised to find out that it was Kang. But I don't think anyone is actually going to claim to have predicted exactly what the set looks like. Now, a quick word of warning before we get rolling today. We don't have a reveal article like we would usually have. That means that we don't have any super clear, sharp, straight images. And it means that we don't have a lovely article explaining everything. We had a live stream of a bunch of explanation. There are a bunch of questions that are still hanging over about this. We are told that there will be a reveal article next week. When we get that article, I will do a follow-up video showing you everything you need to know based on that. For today, if I'm making mistakes, let me know in the comment section. But what we're going to really do here is run through what we do know and have a little bit of a guess about some of the things we don't know but can kind of figure out. So starting off with Kang, we've only actually got the first stage. Now the first stage here has a scheme of 1 and an attack of 2. The attack of 2 is alright, but neither of these are particularly high, and hit points of 12 are not particularly high. Now it does have toughness, which means it enters play with a tough status counter. Remember, that means that the first damage done to Kang will just remove the tough counter, won't do anything else. But there is a forced interrupt. When Kang attacks you, you either have to place 1 threat on the main scheme, or he gets +2 attack for this attack. Which means if you don't place any threat on the main scheme, he becomes a 4 attack monster. So a lot of the time, you're probably going to end up taking that threat. Now, when defeated, you advance the main scheme to stage 2 at the end of the phase. Now, initially here, I thought, well, that's going to make things play a little bit differently, because rather than keeping the scheme as low as you possibly can, you might as well try and keep it just low enough to flick to stage 2, so you're not wasting your thwart for nothing. But here's the thing. Stage 2 is not like we might expect it. So we don't have a look. We do not know what stage 1 of the main scheme does. But stage 2, Master of Time, reads, when revealed, place 1 acceleration token here for each side scheme in play, then discard each side scheme. Remember, an acceleration token means you put 1 more threat on at the beginning of the villain phase. You really want to try and make sure the side schemes are gone before this comes out. That's something you can plan for and something you can work towards, but you really want to make sure there aren't a lot of side schemes. If you get caught with like 3 acceleration tokens, it's probably going to be over. Each player reveals a random stage 3A, and then you remove any unused stage 3 schemes from the game. Now this is the real hook of Kang as we've seen so far. When you go to stage 2, each player is basically cordoned off into their own minigame against a different version of Kang with a different scheme. You are no longer working together to take down one villain, you are essentially partitioned off in your own world against your own Kang with your own main scheme. Now, we do know that there is a third stage where the players come back to take down Kang. I believe that's correct. So essentially you've got the main scheme. When stage 1 finishes, which is when you take down Kang, you then go to stage 2, where you are partitioned off against your own Kangs, and then you come back for essentially the final showdown. Now, we were told that if you fail, if you get taken out against your own Kang, you will not be there for the final showdown, and hence that will be more difficult for the remaining players. The other thing, however, is you can, and they did say this in the stream, you can essentially intentionally fail, let the stage 2 succeed, so to speak, and then you'll be at a disadvantage going into the final stage, but you at least will still be in the game. We've not seen enough of stage 1, 2, or 3 to really know how this works, but that's what we were told, and that's very interesting. To go back to Kang, the one we've seen, I don't think you can go to stage 2 really without beating Kang. Something weird is going on ruling wise here, because if Kang just schemes up and goes to stage 2, what happens to the Kang you haven't defeated? Is he still there? That's weird to me. I don't understand how that interaction's going to work. Generally speaking, you take down the villain and you go to the next stage. The scheme advances, it goes to the next stage. Well, here you take down the villain and then the villain and the scheme go to the next stage. So how can the scheme go to the next stage and partition everybody before the first Kang's gone down? We're going to need to see a bit more of the main scheme to really figure this out. But I don't really know how it would work partitioning all the players off if Kang stage 1 was still there. That is slightly confusing to me. But the fact you're partitioning off sounds awesome. We don't actually, unfortunately, have a look at any of the 3A schemes, but we do see Kang Scarlet Centurion, which is a stage 2 Kang, the fighty one. I mean, you know how it goes, right? There's going to be a fighty one, there's going to be a schemy one, there's going to be a balanced one, etc. Now, this has 0 scheme but 3 attack. Pray you don't come against this with a weak character. And toughness, same as Kang. I'm willing to bet they're all going to have toughness. And this villain's attacks gain piercing. Piercing is where you go through toughness, so you basically remove the toughness status before you resolve the attack. Not good if you were trying to use tough to stay alive. And when you defeat it, you remove the present-future war from the game. That will be his Scheme 3A. And at the end of the phase, join another game area. So if you take down Kang Scarlet Centurion, or presumably any of them, you can then go and help your friends take down the other Kangs, which are still facing off against your opponents. We do need to see a bit more in terms of the other Kangs and the Scheme 3As to really understand exactly how this is working, but this is an example of a Kang. Now you will notice that the Kangs all have subtitles here, because of course you can't have more than one of the same character, but Kang is a time traveler, that's his deal. So by putting in the subtitles, you can essentially have multiple Kangs from multiple timelines, all converging into one game. One of you will have this Kang with the present-future war, and then other people will have other Kangs and other Scheme 3As. It's a bit confusing and it sounds awesome, but because we've only seen the second stage and one of the Kangs from stage 2, but none of the schemes, we really do not have nearly the full information we need here. Sorry about that. Now, we have been shown a couple of obligations here, and obligations seem fun. Now, we've seen obligations before, but we've only actually seen them in the context of every character has their own bespoke obligation, which gets brought in against them when it gets revealed from the deck, regardless of who reveals it. So if we were to have a look at Doctor Strange, for instance, his obligation is physical toll, and when it's revealed, you give it to the Doctor Strange character. You may flip to alter ego form, and either you exhaust him to remove it from the game, or the next event you play costs 3 additional resources, and you discard it after you play an event. But as far as I'm concerned, like 99% of the time, I'm just exhausting myself to remove it. Well, we've not seen obligations as part of scenario packs until today. And we have seen a couple. Depowered is an obligation that says you cannot play hero-specific cards, i.e. any card which has the hero in the bottom corner, so to speak. So again, to keep Doctor Strange as an example, because I love him, Master of the Mystic Arts is Doctor Strange card 6 out of 15. That is a character-specific card, so I believe you would not be able to play that if Depowered was in play. Now there's an alter ego action whereby you discard a hero-specific card from your hand and discard the obligation, but you've got to get yourself into alter ego mode here and then discard a character-specific card from your hand. That is making you go to effort, and that is going to add a really nice tactical edge to it. Now, we've also seen another obligation. We've seen time travel hijinks. When it is revealed, you discard the highest cost card you control, and then you place it face down under this card. And there's an alter ego action to discard an energy resource from your hand and discard the obligation. You don't get that card you put under it back, but it at least goes into your discard pile and can be recycled into your deck. Until you take it down, you cannot get that card back. It is essentially removed from the game, which seems a little bit harsh, but also kind of in keeping with Kang, so it's hard to be too upset. We have seen a treachery card here, Past Machinations, and it actually comes with its own new keyword, Incite 1. That is to say, when this card is revealed, place 1 threat on the main scheme. Now this is going to change things, because generally speaking, you can be sitting there going, you know what? I don't think the villain is going to be able to scheme. I'm in hero mode. We're good to go. These Incite cards can put scheme on when you're not expecting it. That could be harsh. When it's revealed, each player searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a different obligation and reveals it. So not only does it incite 1, but it does give each player an obligation. Good news is, I suppose you get to choose the obligation, but I've just shown you 2 obligations. Neither of them seemed fun, even a little bit. Now the good news is there are 3 modular encounter sets, which are going to be coming along with here, and this is where we get to talk about T-Rex. Because the first one of these is the Temporal modular encounter set, which essentially is an excuse to do anything you want from time, which I'm totally down with. There was apparently a comic that was referenced by Caleb Grace, one of the game designers in the stream, where Kang did just drop a T-Rex onto the heroes, and that's what happens here. 0 scheme, 3 attack, and it's got toughness, and it's got piercing, and 6 health. As far as minions go, this is a very tough one to take down, pun not intended. Having said that, it's a literal, actual T-Rex. What would you expect at this stage? Now, one of the modular encounter sets here is actually Kang. Or it's called Master of Time, but it's built around Kang, Master of Time, with a Kang minion. But again, because you got the subtitles in, it's alright. 1 scheme, 1 attack is generic and standard. 6 health is quite high. But it's got toughness. And another new keyword, Villainous. When this minion activates, give it a boost card, which is kind of awesome. Generally speaking, minions don't get boost cards like villains do. Yeah, Kang totally does. That's why it's got low scheme and attack. And it gets +1 scheme and +1 attack for each obligation in your play area. Bearing in mind, we've already seen a card that brings in 1 obligation per player. In a 4-player game, that puts Kang up to a 5/5, and it gets a boost card when it activates. Yeah, this one is also... that looks like one of the most ridiculous minions we've seen so far. Now, the third modular encounter is the Anachronauts. Think of anachronistic, things that aren't quite right. Unfortunately, we were not shown anything from that particular encounter set, so, you know, go give those dudes a Google. They're basically henchmen of Kang that go through time, causing mischief. But we've not seen anything from that, unfortunately, so we can't talk about it. The last card we can talk about, however, is Corrupted Time Stream. This is a side scheme, and it reads, players cannot trigger alter ego action abilities on obligations. And when revealed, each player must discard 1 random card from their hand or place 2 threat here. It only starts with 2 threat. It's quite easy to take down in that regard. But if you're not discarding cards from your hand, if every player chooses not to, and it's a 4-player game, you're rocking a 10 threat side scheme. And remember that side schemes have to be taken down before scheme 2 comes out, or else there are acceleration tokens coming out of the wazoo. That is a very bad thing indeed. There are still a whole bunch of questions to come out of this. I really, really want to see the main scheme 1 and also free, and I want to see an example of main scheme 3A, which is to say the ones that come with the other Kangs. There are still questions to be answered, but once again the design team have managed to do that thing where this looks and presumably will play very differently to any other scenario we've seen, and in a way that perfectly fits the idea of a time travelling villain. They keep doing it, and I keep being delighted. And consider me hyped. I mean, you know I'm in on this game by now, right? You know I'm buying all of the packs regardless, but this one really does seem like an awesomely fun one. I'm excited. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk Marvel Champions and frankly what other ever games take our fancy. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.